All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Torah Studies. So tonight we look at cities of refuge. Cities of refuge. What are they? Where were they? Who set them up? And what do they mean for us today in 2025? I recall the Southwest commercial. Remember the Southwest commercial? Southwest Airlines commercial. The guy who spills, I'm paraphrasing here, I don't remember the details. The guy who spills the beverage on the other guy's computer at work, and the computer doesn't work anymore, and it's busted, and he's like, oh no, I messed up. And then the tagline was, gotta get away, right? Southwest, fare starting at $49, right? You have a thing, it gets a little dicey, right? Gotta get away, boom. So sometimes in life, we gotta get away. And the Torah's understanding of it, that situation would be if somebody inadvertently took someone else's life. So let's break this down. So first of all, good evening, everyone. Second of all, the Torah portion this week is Vet Hanan. I think I forgot to mention that. Third of all, it talks about, once again, in the Torah, the cities of refuge. Now, what was the context? The Torah gives an example. Let's say somebody is chopping wood, right? I think there was an old expression. How much wood would a wood chopper chop if a wood chopper could chopper wood? Something like that.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He chucked all the wood.
I was making a joke, but
but you cued Bonnie.
I hear you. So someone's chopping wood, and this is the Torah actually gives this scenario. And what happens is the blade disconnects from the handle, and the blade flies through the air and strikes, God forbid, strikes an innocent party. Could you imagine the tragedy, right? Imagine someone's chopping wood in the forest. The next thing you know, their buddies lost their life because the blade had left the handle. It's an accident. Says the Torah, you know what may happen? The Goel Hadam. That means literally means the redeemer of the blood, which means, I don't know, the relative might want to take some vengeance, little street justice, vigilante justice on the guy who took the relative's life. And thus, it's imperative that the community has a safe place for the person who took the life by accident to be safe. The safe haven was called the Ir Miklat, the city of refuge, or in the plural, because there were, as we'll see, there were 6 of them, Arei Miklat, the cities of refuge. That was the context. It's not like if you got a bad grade on your spelling test as a 3rd grader, that was not city of refuge. That you got to deal with, you got to own up. It was specifically for a case where someone loses their life, and the one who did it, David Lazan writes, accident, correct? Very, very well done. Very well done. An accident, right? So that is the specific scenario. Huh? It was written. It was so bad. It's actually great. So that is the specific context in which there is a city of refuge. So the question is, where were these cities of refuge? Well, how many there were, I already mentioned, 6 in total. As we'll see tonight, 3 were in Israel proper. When I say Israel proper, I mean in the boundaries. And these are the original boundaries of the Holy Land, as detailed a few weeks ago in the Torah. Moses details or God details to Moses the boundaries and the borders, and those were the original borders of Israel. It's a bit different than what we have today. So there were 3 in there in that area of land, and then there were an additional 3 that were in the language of Torah be'ever hayarden, the other side of the Jordan. In English, sometimes it's translated as the Trans-Jordan, meaning literally the other side of the Jordan. So if you recall, just a quick note about this, as the Jews were preparing to advance to Israel, to the border of Israel, so they were in the lands outside of Israel. And we read about this again a few weeks ago. A few of the tribes come to Moses and they say to Moses, hey, this is actually great land. This land is good for us, good for our kids, good for the cattle. We'd like to stay here. And Moses says, are you crazy? I'm paraphrasing. Are you crazy? You don't want to go into the land? You know what happened 40 years ago? When your parents said they don't want to go to the land with 40 years of wandering, you want that to happen again? They said, whoa, 1 second. We didn't say we're afraid to go into land. We didn't say that we don't believe in God's ability to take us into land and perform miracles. We didn't say anything. All we said was that this land is good land, but we will totally fight along with our brothers to prove that we're not afraid and to help, of course, the other tribes. We will fight with them. And Moses says, okay, then we have a deal. If you go, if you join, if the men, right, join the other tribes in conquering the land of Israel, then when that's done, you all can settle on the other side of the Jordan, kind of, sort of, but not exactly, almost expanding the borders of Israel. But not really. Israel didn't, that doesn't become Israel. It's not like the borders open up and include those areas, but it's like kind of Israel adjacent. It's like Jackie Mason said, back in the day. There's you live in Beverly Hills, and then the Beverly Hills adjacent. So this is like Israel adjacent. It's right outside, across the Jordan, a skip hop, whatever.
Like Metro Israel.
Huh?
Like Metro Israel.
Metro Israel, exactly. There's Israel proper, then there's the Metro Israel. Very good. Metro Israel.
We call it Jordan now.
Jordan. Yeah, exactly. Yes, we do.
Or the East Bank.
The East Bank. Now, which were the tribes? So there was Reuven and Gad. Those were the two tribes that approached Moses. Moses says, okay. Again, eventually he approves this deal. He thumbs it up. He thumbs up, whatever the expression is. He gives it a thumbs up. But he says, I'm going to give you another tribe to make sure that you guys stick to the plan. Half of the tribe of Manasseh. So it was 2.5 tribes. Reuven, Gad, and half of Manasseh eventually settled on that other side of the Jordan. But as it did, they kept to their word. The soldiers went in, they fought, and then they came back to rejoin their families. The wives and the children and the cattle remained in the Transjordan. The men fought and came back after the 14 years, really, of fighting and settling, and they came back and settled the land. So all of that is to say that where were these cities of refuge? 3 were designated within the borders, the actual borders of Israel, and 3 were set up in the Transjordan, for a total of 6. Now let's read about this in the Torah. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to start with the book of Numbers by Midbar, actually again from the Torah portion a few weeks ago. And then we're going to segue into a verse from our Torah portion. All right, so this is going to be, 1 second. This is going to be in your booklets, text 1A, 1B, 1C. It's interesting because it's a little bit out of order. And I don't know, I'm not sure why they put it out of order, but nonetheless, that is exactly what they did. So give me a second. Let me get this ready on my end, David. Hold on. And I think we are now officially ready. All right, take it away, please.
God spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and tell them, when you cross the Jordan River to the land of Canaan, designate for yourselves cities of refuge to which inadvertent killers will flee."
All right. So if I ask the question, just a basic comprehension question, when does the mitzvah begin? Timeline-wise? When does the mitzvah begin? When they cross, right? When you cross the Jordan River to the land of Canaan, meaning that it begins upon the entry into the land of Canaan/Israel. All right, text, please continue. It's a book falling down within the cabinet. Text 1B, please continue. This explains the rationale or the scenario that cities of refuge will be used.
Should the murderer exit the boundaries of the city of refuge to which he or she fled, and the blood avenger finds them beyond the limits of their city of refuge, the blood avenger may slay the murderer. The murderer has no right to the avenger's blood.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. It's like the Torah is almost sanctioning this type of vigilante justice and says, like, if the inadvertent, are we going to call them murderer? I don't know. This one says murderer. I think doesn't murder imply intentionality? Today? Killer? Manslaughter, right? Manslaughter. So would it be the manslaughterer? I guess. I don't know. I don't like the word murder. So the Torah is basically saying that if the person that took the life decides, I'm not going to go to the city of refuge. But then the Goel Hadam, then the avenger of the blood comes and takes him out. We don't prosecute the avenger of the blood for murder, even though it was an intentional act of taking life. Because whose life did they take? The one who took the life of their relative. And you see already how this could easily spiral out of control, right? An eye for an eye turning into a literal scenario, which is not ideal. And thus, the Torah says, y'all better get to the city of refuge fast. Just a quick note on that, although it's not super related to tonight's class. I mean, it's all related, but not like right on topic. There had to be very broad roads, like wide roads leading to the city of refuge, no traffic. Not like Roswell Road when you cross the highway over here, where it's like, oh my gosh, everyone's stuck on the same traffic, right? It's got to be wide roads and clearly marked, very clearly marked. Miklat, you know, this is the way to the miklat, so that anyone who needs to flee shouldn't be like, I don't know where to go, I'm stuck in traffic. That should never be the situation. All right, let's continue. One more, David, please. This is text 1c, and here the Torah describes the number of cities of refuge.
The cities that you designate will serve you as 6 cities of refuge. Provide 3 cities in Transjordan and 3 cities in the land of Canaan. They will be cities of refuge.
Perfect. And I mentioned before, 3 in the Transjordan, 3 in the land of Canaan. And you might notice, you might be wondering, the ratio seems off. You have 3 cities of refuge for 9.5 tribes. And then you have 3 cities for 2.5 tribes. Aren't the numbers a little bit off? Yeah, you know.
Well, who's the arbiter of whether it was an accidental death or whether it was intentional?
That's a very good question.
I want to know how many times this was enforced.
You're saying how many times it was used. Oh, David's asking a good question. I mean, who's enforcing this? I think it's like this. If somebody indeed intended to take a life and took a life, and there are witnesses, then obviously they get prosecuted. I guess it might have been somewhat of an honor system. Like, someone took a life and they go there and they're protected until the situation is evaluated. I'm sure there was an investigation done into, you know, like what happened to try to figure out if that person indeed should be there. Now,
was it only for manslaughter, or were there any other capital crimes, so to speak, that you could escape from?
That was the only capital crime level crime that was valid to be there. Now, in addition to the people that were there because they needed to be there for safety, there were also scholars and and rabbis there that were, you know, to teach and to, you know, kind of inspire, provide the spiritual
of them.
Yeah, basically to encourage them and whatever. But typically, the people that were there were people that inadvertently took life. All right, so that's the basic.
How long did they get to live there for?
So they had to be there until the high priest died. Whoever the Kohen Gadol was, upon their death, the everyone in the cities of refuge left. And so it says that once a year, I forget on which holiday, maybe more than once a year, the mother of the high priest would bring food to all the people in the cities of refuge so that they wouldn't be praying, maybe before Yom Kippur, so that they wouldn't be praying that her son would die so that they could go. Can you imagine? Here's a cake on behalf of our family. Please don't pray for us to die, right? Or my son to die, right? The Talmud says that's what happened. All right, now all of that is the background. Now this takes us into our Torah portion. Alice, if you don't mind, please read text 2a. Now I have to note before you get started that there's going to be something very weird about the translation here, and it's done intentionally to be a little bit more literal. And this is going to be a major piece of tonight's discussion, is the little bit oddity in the translation in text 2a. But take it away, please.
Then Moses will designate 3 cities on the east bank of the Jordan River, the side facing the sunrise.
Okay, so here we go. So the verse, and this is in our Torah portion. The third reading of the Parsha opens with this verse, Ve'az Yavdil Moshe. Now, if we weren't being so literal in the translation, I would have said that the translation is, then Moses designated 3 cities in the Transjordan.
Literally in modern Hebrew, it would differentiate or separate.
Yeah. Separate, but meaning separating by designating them. Oh, so these are the ones. No, you're right. Literally, it's separate. Yavdil is separation, like Havdalah, separation. But in the context, not the literal, but in the context, it means designate, meaning you designate or separate them out from all the other cities by designating them as having a unique function. So basically, the Torah is telling us, let me take a half a step back. Remember I mentioned last week that the whole book of Deuteronomy, most of it is Moses' final speech.
Why is this third person?
This cuts out. So for one reading of this week's Torah portion, the third reading, Shlishi, it cuts out from first person, then this happened, that happened, don't forget this, remember that. Moses speaking to the people. It cuts out and talks about what was going on at that time. And so it says, Az Yavdil Moshe, which again, if I weren't paying so much attention to the literal meaning, I would say then Moses, the Torah is telling us, at that point in time, Moses there, he's not in Israel, so he's there in the Transjordan. Az Yavdil Moshe, Shalosh Arim. Then Moses separated the three cities. Which three cities? Remember, we just said there were three cities that were to serve as the cities of refuge in the Transjordan. So who designated those? Moses did. Yeah. However, the problem is that that's not the literal translation. Az means then, so that's right. But Yavdil, in Hebrew, it should have said, and we're going to get grammatical here, in Hebrew, it should have said Az Hivdil. Hivdil would mean that he separated, past tense. Yavdil means he will separate. So what does it mean? Then is a word that's past tense. Yavdil is a word, so uz is then, which is past tense. Yavdil is future tense, which means will. So what does it mean? Then he will? What does it mean? Then he will. Makes no sense. Rashi to the rescue. Rashi comments. Obviously, he's got to comment on this one because this doesn't make sense otherwise. So let's take a look at what Rashi has to say.
The other question is, let's say it's the side facing the sunrise. Is that not redundant to the east?
Yeah, it's a good question.
At this juncture, doesn't everyone know that the sun rises in the east?
You would think. It's a good question. I don't know. Good. That's not going to be the focus of tonight, but that's a valid question to explore. Text to be. Alice, if you don't mind, please read Rashi. Rashi is going to help us understand the bizarre turn of phrase.
Then Moses will designate. Moses set his heart to trembling and hastened to set them aside. Though the cities would not offer refuge until 3 cities would be designated in the land of Canaan, Moses said, I will fulfill any commandment that can be fulfilled.
All right, let's pause. There's a lot to break down in this Rashi. So let's focus on Rashi. Let's keep our attention on these words. So number one, Rashi explains the strange mixing of tenses, past and future. Not even past and present, but past and future. Az is then, past. Yavdil is will designate, which is future. So what's going on here? Number one, Rashi explains that it means that at that point in time, it's like, again, this is the narrator, the third-party narrator kind of chiming in and saying, at that point in time, in middle of Moses talking to the people, then he decided, you with me, that he will designate. You see how that makes sense? So the uz yavdil means then again, you have to fill in the words in parentheses or brackets, whatever. Then Moses decided that he will designate. So again, if you read the verse, then Moses will designate, just add in words, a few words between Moses and will. Then Moses decided that he will designate. So the Torah is telling us that what did Moses do at that time? Then at that point in time, Moses decided that he was going to designate 3 cities. And as Rashi says, he did it. Not only did he decide to do it, he did it with trembling in his heart, and he hastened to set them aside. And then Rashi continues that though they would not offer refuge until the 3 cities in Canaan would be designated as well, Moses said, I'm going to do whatever I can now. I'm here now. Let me designate these cities now. All right. We have a similar phrase, uz, with a future tense. And the most, hey, Sindri, good to see you. The most famous turn of phrase that mirrors this one is a very famous one. That is from the book of Exodus. That is recited every single day in the morning prayers in Shacharit, which is Az Yashir. Now, let me explain this for a second, or let's give a little context. When the Jewish people left Egypt and the Egyptians were chasing them, they got to the sea, and what happened? The sea split. And then the Jews walked through, the Egyptians followed, the sea collapsed on the Egyptians. And when the Jews saw that their former abusers, whatever the word is, taskmasters, etc., were finally gone and they were free, Az, Yasher, Moshe of Israel, then Moses and the Jewish people sang. And we had a class, I don't know, a few months ago. How did they sing? I think we had a class, right? How did they sing the song? Did we have that class? Maybe we didn't have that class about the song. All right, maybe it was a different class. All right, either way, it's all good. I definitely taught a class. I don't know where, but there was a class on that. Point being that then that's when they sang the song at the sea. However, it's the same turn of phrase. Uz, then, past tense. Yashir. Yashir doesn't mean sang. It means will sing. So Rashi explains. Can you imagine? Rashi says the same exact thing. Take a look at text 2c. Alice, one more, please.
Okay. Then, namely, when he beheld the miracle, it occurred to him to sing a song.
There you go. Then he decided that he will go sing a song. Why? What happened? When he saw the miracle, then he decided, or it occurred to him, Allah Belibai, he was inspired that he will sing the song. So again, how do you explain past and future tense in such proximity? Then, past tense, he decided that he will sing the song. Yeah, and the same thing over here, Az Yavdil Moshe, then Moses decided that he will separate the 3 cities of refuge in the Transjordan. Beautiful. Great. I think we're done here, but not so fast. I have 3 questions on Rashi. Rashi makes sense by and large, but question number 1, when it comes to the past and future tense by the splitting of the sea, Rashi clearly explains what the impetus of that decision was. We just read it. What made Moses decide that he was going to sing the song of the sea? The miracle. The shaila is, the question is, what happened here? Rashi does not clue us in. Turn back to Rashi in text 2b, right? Look back at our Rashi in our Torah portion, right? Then Moses will designate. Rashi said about the cities of refuge, Moses set his heart to trembling and hastened to set them aside. So he then decided that he will designate. But you know what Rashi omits? What the motivation was. Right? When it comes to the splitting of the sea, Rashi says, then when he saw the miracle, he decided that he will sing a song. Okay, that makes sense. But why over here did Moses decide that he will designate the cities? What happened to spur him, to inspire him to designate? Question number 1. Question makes sense? Rashi omits it. So first of all, what was the thing that motivated him? Number 2, why does Rashi not tell us? Rashi's leaving us hanging a little bit. Question number 1. Question number 2, what's with the trembling? What's with the emotion? Why? Moses set his heart to trembling. Why so dramatic? What does that even mean? Why can't Rashi just say, he then decided that he was going to designate the cities of refuge. Done. What's with the trembling? What was he afraid of? Trembling implies fear, right? Trepidation. What was he afraid of? What was so scary about designating cities? What's the problem?
Oh, once they cross into the land, he wasn't going to be there.
Yeah, but he's designated these 3 cities where he is. I'll pass away soon, but what's the fear? Question number 3 is, and this is a question that kind of speaks to the way we understand Rashi. Rashi typically gets in and out very quickly in his commentary and just gives us, what's that line? Just the facts, ma'am, right? Just give me just give me the explanation of the words of the Torah. But here, Rashi, the second paragraph of Rashi over here, gives a whole story. Though the cities would not offer refuge until 3 cities would be designated in Canaan, Moses said, I will fulfill any commandments that can be fulfilled. Wow, that seems like a lot of extra information. You want to explain the Az Yavdil, the past and future tense and how they're juxtaposed? Great. Just tell us that then he decided that he was going to separate the cities. The whole thought process of I might as well do it, that seems to be completely superfluous. So I know I'm asking a lot of technical questions. This week happens to be a bit of a more technical class, but nonetheless, I hope it's coming out clear. So just to review what we've done so far, we established that there were 6 cities of refuge. 3 in Israel, 3 in the Transjordan. We also mentioned that in this week's Torah portion, the Torah tells us that, well, it started to happen. The designation started. Az Yavdil Moshe. Then Moses will separate. Moses decided that he will separate, Rashi says, but we have a bunch of questions on Rashi. Number one, what was the motivation? Why does Rashi omit the motivation? What caused him to make the move now? Let's do it. What made him say that? Number one. Number two, why was he trembling with fear? What's the fear? What's the trembling about? And number three, why does Rashi elaborate on the fact that, well, it wasn't going to be effective yet, but he's still, what does he say? They would not have refuge until the 3 would be designated in Canaan, but he said, I'll fulfill any commandment that can be fulfilled. What's that? It seems to be extra. With me on the questions? All right, let's do some answers. See, most weeks I string you along to the end to look at the answers. This week, it's going to be a little bit more, we'll get the answers quick, and then I'll string you along after that. But here we go. Let's get to some answers. All right. As we know, Rashi expects us to keep up with the text. And the truth is, we started with the third reading tonight, with a verse from the third reading. We skipped readings 1 and 2. And if we had read all of the text up until that verse, we might have come to this answer ourselves as to what Moses' motivation was to decide to pull the trigger on designating these 3 cities. And the answer is, how does the Torah portion begin? Sorry, that's a question actually, but the answer is, first the question, how does the Torah portion begin? Moses is speaking to the people and he says, I prayed to God, I've been praying to God. In fact, our sages say that he prayed 515 prayers to ask God to be allowed to go into the land of Israel, which means that even as this Torah portion begins, he is still reporting that at some point he was holding out hope that he could maybe enter the land of Israel, even though God had said it's not going to happen. Listen, happens all the time. People say no, and then eventually they say, all right, fine, okay, fine, I'll let you in, sure, okay, we'll make it happen. We'll make an exception this time. You go to a baseball game. Have I showed you my baseball game? Starting pitcher for the Torah Center. Anyway, so you go to a game, and you know how it works. You get tickets, nosebleed seats, but then your kid's like, oh, let's go down to the box seats, the good seats, and you're like, all right, fine, let's try. And so you go down and you make your way, like as if you belong there, And then they say, oh, where's your ticket? I'm like, well, we have tickets all the way up there. Like, well, sorry, can't let you in. Say, you know what? It's my kids. He's very excited about it. I see some empty seats. It's already the 7th inning. Would it be okay? At least a 50-50 shot that if you ask nicely, might say yes. Correct? Happens all the time. I've done it before, right? Grab a random kid. I'm kidding, right? And say, hey, So this is right. So it's worth to ask. There's no harm in asking. So Moses said, I've been asking, and you know what? God might say yes. But in the beginning of this Torah portion, Moses reports how God told him to go up the mountain, one of the mountains over there, overlooking the land of Israel, land of Canaan, land of Israel. And God says to Moses, look down on the land. And I'm going to make it sound a little bit more dramatic and harsh because that's the closest you're going to get along those lines. See the land? You're not going to go in. Again, the closest you're going to get to Israel is this view. It's like when you go to Chattanooga.
Lookout Mountain.
Lookout Mountain. Yeah, you can see like a bunch of states. You know what I'm talking about? Lookout Mountain, whatever. So, yeah, that's the closest you're going to get. Shortly after that, the Torah says, Az Yavdil Moshe. Rashi doesn't feel the need to explain. You know why? What inspired Moshe to pull the trigger and designate the cities? Because he finally got the word that he's not going to be able to go in. So Moses said, all right, I was hoping all this time that I would be able, the usher, God, right, would say, all right, fine, go in. All right, fine. We'll let you in this time. And then if I go in, I'll be able to designate all 6 cities, right? all 6 cities of refuge, the ones in Israel proper, and the ones in the Transjordan. But now that I know that I'm never going to step foot in the land of Israel, so now at least what I can do is designate the 3 cities where I am. I can put a little flagpole, a little, what does the gas company put? Like a yellow thing, maybe spray paint it. Future city of refuge, home of the future cities of refuge baseball team. I'm kidding, right? Home of the future city of refuge. Yeah?
Yeah.
So Rashi doesn't even explain why. Because the why should be obvious. If you read the Parsha up until now, if you read the Torah portion, it's clear. Moses says, I've been trying and trying and trying. God told me it ain't going to happen. Sorry. So therefore, the Torah reports, the Torah zooms out and says, so what did Moses do at this time? At that point, Yavdil Moshe decided that he's going to do it. Okay, great. That's the rationale. But why the trembling? I think the trembling should be obvious now. Why the trembling?
Because he's not going to be able to go in.
Good, that's one thing. What's another thing? We said before that the 6 cities are a package deal, right? A bit of a package deal. So Moses did not get the call from God, while you're at it, designate these 3. He kind of went, and I mean this with all respect, rogue. He kind of took the opportunity on his own. He wasn't told by God, thou shalt separate the first 3, while you have a chance. He wasn't told that. They were told to designate 6. But he realized that this is the last. He doesn't have much time left. This is his shot. Yavdil Moshe, he goes out on a wing. So number 1, he doesn't know 2 reasons for trembling. Number 1, he doesn't know if his efforts are going to mean anything. Designate. As they say in Shtisel, shkoyach, meaning thank you very much. That might not actually have an impact. So number 1, he's worried, trembling. He's concerned. Maybe it didn't mean anything. He went hocus pocus and everyone's like, I didn't see anything happen. Nothing happened. It didn't have an impact. It's still going to have to be done again. Number 1. Number 2, is he actually acting in accordance with God's will? Which is a more serious internal question that he has. He wasn't even sure if God was happy with his actions. So 2, they were related, but it's a little bit different. Number 1, would it take effect? Number 2, is God even going to approve of his actions? So that's why he was trembling. And that's literally what Rashi says. Look back, if you will, please, at the Rashi. Look back at the Rashi text 2b. Rashi, in the 2nd paragraph, explains the trembling. Though the cities would not offer refuge until 3 cities would be designated in the land of Canaan, Moses said, I will fulfill any commandment that can be fulfilled. But he was actually concerned and nervous and worried and a little anxious over whether or not he was actually fulfilling the commandment or whether or not God was going to be happy with his fulfillment of said commandment. You with me on this? Okay. We've answered all the questions. Yeah.
If he's not in the land of Canaan, if he didn't cross the Jordan to
Yes.
Canaan, how does he know what cities to designate?
Excuse me.
He hasn't been
Bless
there.
you. Good. Excellent question. If he's not in Canaan, in Israel, so how can he designate the cities? The answer is he didn't designate the cities in Israel. He only designated the 3 cities in the Transjordan where he was. And so that's what Rashi's saying. Then, upon hearing God's final answer, what was that show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I think, is that your final answer? When Moses finally hears God's final answer, it ain't going to happen. You're not going in. Az Yavdil Moshe Shalosh Arim. Then Moses designated, separated the 3 cities where? In the Transjordan. Comes along Rashi. Az Yavdil, then he will. Then he decided that he will do this. But that decision was filled with trepidation. Why the trepidation? He wasn't sure if it was going to take effect, and he wasn't sure if God was going to be happy with his actions. But he still decided to pull the trigger. Because you know why? You only live once. I'm kidding. That's not exactly the rationale. The rationale is, this is my only shot. Let me take it. What do they say? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's
So, Rabbi, so is Yehoshua is the one that designated the Ir Miklat on the west side?
Yes, Yeshua does it. The question, and we're not done yet. We have plenty of time for the next piece of it. And part of that is we're going to figure out, was Moses' actions effective, or did Joshua have to redo everything from scratch? Excellent question, Jay, but that's going to be what we're going to look at next.
I have a quick comment though. So it's I don't know if it's a midrash, but Moshe saw the entire world from where he was.
Yes. Yes.
So he could have potentially designated this 3 cities on the other side.
Yeah, but apparently you had to be on the ground. Good, excellent question. It seems like for this, you had to be in physical proximity. It's kind of like Pokemon Go. You had to be there with the phone, with the app. You had to like check in, Pokestops and whatever. You had to actually physically be there. So again, just summarize. This is the summary of my summary. It's getting shorter each time. That's the good news, right? So the Torah tells us about Moses designated the 3 cities as city of refuge in the Transjordan, those 3. Rashi comments that, explaining just the nuance of the text, Moses at which point, having heard that he was not going to go into the land, he then decided that might as well designate the 3 cities that are right here in the Transjordan. However, he did it with fear, trepidation, and trembling. Why? He wasn't sure if it was going to be effective. He wasn't sure also if it was per God's will, but he did it anyway. Good. Now, next part of the class, let's ask the question, was it effective? We just said that he wasn't sure. He was a little nervous. He was concerned. He did it anyway. What happened? Did it actually have an effect, or was it something that needed to be redone anyway? Was it an exercise in futility or utility? Not bad, right? Exercise in futility didn't work, or utility, maybe it did work. That's the question. So let's take a look at a Mishnah. We're skipping text 4 because I paraphrased it. Let's move on to text number 5. Ramon, we are up to you. Please read. Hold on one second. We skipped text 3 and text 4. All good. Text 5, please read Mishnah.
The 3 cities in Transjordan did not provide refuge until 3 cities of refuge were selected in Israel proper. As the passage states, they will serve you as 6 cities of refuge, Numbers 35 and 13. This tells us that none provided sanctuary until all provided sanctuary.
All right, so it's all or nothing. It's like one of these matching campaigns, all or nothing. If you don't have all 6, then there's no refuge in any of them. Now, this is a general rule in Jewish law that if any one of the cities of refuge were compromised or not designated, etc., then you could not use the other 5 or 4 or 3 or whatever it is. It's all 6 or nothing. So comes on the Mishnah and says that the 3 cities in the Transjordan, although they might have been designated by Moses, no one was legally able to use them for said refuge purposes until the other 3 were designated, because you have to have all 6 for any of them to be activated. You with me on this? I'm trying to think of a good example. What's a good example of something that you need the whole thing to be activated? It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like the 50% doesn't work.
The Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, but I mean, like even I don't think like even topping off something with money. It's like if you pay, if let's say you have like a prepaid cell phone a contract and it's like $30 a month for prepaid, and you're like, I'm going to pay $15. You get a half a month? No, you don't. You get 0 month. You get 0% of your month until you pay the whole amount, and then you have 30 days of service. If you don't pay the whole thing, you have 0 days of service. But what do you mean? Prorate. It doesn't prorate. It's like we have 3 cities. We're good to go. If somebody, God forbid, commits, unintentional manslaughter, can they run here? The answer is no. You got to have all 6. So the Mishnah is clear. Now, based on the Mishnah, let me ask you the question. Is what Moses did, or was Moses did, I don't even know if that's a phrase, was what Moses did effective or not? Yes or no?
Delayed effective.
Oh, so the truth is, we're not really sure. From the Mishnah, we're not really sure. Because the Mishnah just said that you can't use them. The utility is not there. But maybe they're still designated, but maybe not activated. You see, there's 2 differences, or there's two levels. One is designation, one is activation. Maybe, so we're trying to address, again, we're trying to get to the heart of the question. Moses was afraid, maybe what I'm doing is not going to, maybe I'm doing this for nothing, for no purpose. Maybe I'm doing it, maybe there's no purpose. Maybe God is not even happy with what I'm doing. Now we're asking the question, well, did it have any function? Did it have any utility? Did it take effect? So he said, well, the Mishnah says that you couldn't use any of the cities of refuge, including meaning Moses, until Joshua designated the others. So was it effective? So at first glance, we might say, no, it's not effective. Clearly, it's not effective. But as David's pointing out, depends how you define effective.
It's like the blueprint word.
Yeah, you could say that maybe it did take effect in the sense that they're designated, but they're not activated. The switch is not flipped until Yeshua does it. But it still had a designation. Maybe Moses still designated it.
So an architect draws up plans to build a building.
Yeah.
And you start building, but it takes a while.
Correct.
To
So maybe, right, so Alice is saying, so maybe Moses, like the architect, he's drawing, he designates saying this is where it's going to be. And then when it's done, boom, it goes back. Great. Fine. So we're not sure. The truth is, it does seem to be a debate amongst the original expositors, commentaries, more beyond commentaries, the Midrashim on these verses. We're going to look at a Sifri, and then we're going to look at a Midrash Rabbah. These are two Midrashic sources, and they seem to be saying slightly different things. And we're then going to map these two. I'm giving you the blueprint of what we're about to do. We're going to have a Sifri, so one Midrash, and a Midrash Rabbah, another Midrash. We're going to show how, although they sound similar, they seem to be saying two different things about Moses' role vis-a-vis the city of refuge. We're going to map those two opinions onto the Talmud and Rashi, and then have a better understanding of which angle Rashi takes. But first, the two Midrashim. Oh, and then we're gonna top it all off with a warm apple pie and ice cream. I'm kidding. With a good takeaway, for our lives. So let's go with the Sifri. Text 6a. Sandrine, please, if you will, please read text 6a. It's a quick one-liner.
Moses instructed Joshua to designate cities of refuge.
Thank you. Now, if you read this line, what does it imply?
That Joshua is actually.
Yeah, this kind of takes the momentum away from Moses. It's kind of sucks the air out of his excitement. That it says that Moses instructed Joshua to designate the cities, meaning that even he realized that it was not necessarily effective. Take a look. Please read one more. Sandrine's text 6b. This comes from one of the commentaries on the Midrash, and he explains the following.
Moses instructed Joshua to designate 6 cities. The cities in Transjordan did not absorb murderers until Joshua designated all 6 cities. So,
all right, here now it gets a little bit muddled, because is it saying that the designation wasn't a designation, or the designation didn't have activation? So, but it starts up by saying Moses instructed Joshua to designate 6 cities, meaning he realized his own designation might not have been effective. And then we know for sure, there's no question that it wasn't active until all 6 were active. But even the designation didn't take effect. Here it implies that the designation, this first Sifri implies that the designation also was lacking. Tamara, please read text number 7. This is the second Midrash, which implies slightly differently.
The passage states, so you would experience good and live a long life. The Jewish people complained to God, Master of the universe, is this what you call long life? If a person kills inadvertently, the victim's relatives may pursue him and atone for the spilled blood by killing the killer. This results in the untimely death of 2 people. God replied to Moses, I swear on your life that they make a valid point. Go and designate cities of refuge for them, as it is written. Then Moses will designate.
Based on this Midrash, what does it sound like? Did Moses do something with his designation? Sounds like, yeah. God even told him to designate, and that's our verse. Then Moses decided that he will designate. It actually wasn't his own decision. It even came from God. So it sounds like the designation did have an impact. So again, it's very subtle, but it seems like we have 2 different Midrashic sources that are slightly in different locations, different spaces. Text 6a, the Sifri seems to imply that it was Joshua who was doing the designation, meaning Moses himself realized that his was ineffective. And text 7 implies the other midrash, the midrash Rabbah implies that no, God even told Moses to do the designation. So it seems like his designation was somewhat effective. And so we're still stuck with the question, did what he did do anything?
These are not necessarily contradictory, though.
Explain.
Moses could have designated through Joshua.
Okay.
Moses could have said,
Good.
take Macon, Albany, and Rome and make them
Right.
the 3 cities in Trans-Georgia. And
right. Good. Okay. Very good. So maybe God tells Moses, and Moses pass the baton to Joshua, tell him, hey, you be the one to do this because I know that mine might not be good. But we still have 2 slightly different things. Now, we're going to look at, I said, we're going to map these 2 potential opinions onto the Talmud and Rashi. And we're going to do this again. It's going to be it'll still be technical, but hopefully it's going to make a lot of sense. Let's take a look now at text 8a. Toba, you ready? All right, please read this from the Talmud.
Our teacher Moses knew that the 3 cities in Transjordan would not shelter their inhabitants until 3 cities were selected in Canaan. Nevertheless, he said, a mitzvah that came to my hands, I will fulfill.
All right. Seems like kind of what Rashi said, even though he knew it was going to be ineffective, or as Rashi said, he was trembling that maybe it wouldn't. But he said, a mitzvah comes to my hand, I will fulfill it. Now, it sounds like Rashi, but if you look very closely at Rashi, and we're going to have to do a little compare contrast. So like, I want you to flip back in your booklets between 8a, what we just read, and text 2b, which is the original Rashi. Take a look at what Rashi said in 2b, all the way back on page 56. Text 2b, Rashi said, though the cities will not offer refuge until 3 cities will be designated in the land of Canaan, Moses said, listen to how Rashi phrases it. I will fulfill any commandment that can be fulfilled. That's Rashi. Look back at the Talmud, which is the source of Rashi. The Talmud says in 8a something a little different. Nevertheless, he said, a mitzvah that came to my hands, I will fulfill. What's the difference between those 2 phrases? And I will tell you, we could rack our brains, but let me just do the quick version. This is the cooking show version, where you prepare the dough and suddenly it's baked because it's already been pre-baked. Let me give you an insight. It's a nuance, it's a subtle take on it, but let me give you a take on it. Rashi says, you ready for this? No, the Talmud. The Talmud says, a mitzvah that comes to my hands, I'll fulfill. Rashi says, a mitzvah that can be fulfilled, I'll fulfill. What's the difference? Gavra and Chefza. Okay, now we're getting very Talmudic. There's a chakira. Chakira means when you can look at something 2 different ways. It's basically splitting hairs. But you ready? Let's split some hairs. When it comes to every mitzvah, the question is it a mitzvah on the Gavra or on the Chefza? Is it a mitzvah on the person or on the object? For example, when it comes to a mezuzah on your house, on your door, is it a mitzvah on you to put up a mezuzah on your house? Or is it a mitzvah to have a mezuzah in the house put up by you? You see the difference? Is the mitzvah on the house or the mitzvah on the person? I'll do that again. When it comes to putting up a mezuzah on the door, is it that you should put a mezuzah on your door? Or is it that a mezuzah should be put on a door and then you're going to be the one to do it? Again, I know what you're all thinking. Is there a difference? There is a difference. In many cases, there are major differences in this. But to fast forward to our context, here's the difference between Rashi and the Talmud. The Talmud is saying, if a mitzvah comes my way, I'm going to do it, which implies it might not be effective. I might not actually be fulfilling the mitzvah, but if it came to my hands, I'm going to give it a shot. That's what the Talmud seems to imply. Rashi says that Moses said to himself that if a mitzvah can be fulfilled, I will do it, which means that Moses was actually fulfilling a mitzvah. According to the Talmud, Moses was just doing his best. Moses was taking a shot. Maybe. According to Rashi, he was actually fulfilling something. So let's put all the pieces together. There's 2 ways to understand what Moses did. One way is to say that what he did was he took a map, or maybe he went to the land, he spray painted, a designation, or put a flag, or made a mark on a map and said, this will be a city of refuge. Did that make it happen? No. Did that even officially designate it? Also no. He just made the initial markings to be filled in later. That's what the Midrash, that's what the Sifri implies. That's why Moses told Joshua, you got to do it. I didn't do much. I just marked it on a map. But that didn't even officially designate it. That just, marked it. So, and that's also what the Talmud says. That Moses said, if it comes to my hand, I'll do it. Meaning I'll do what I can do, but it's not actually the mitzvah that I'm doing. I'm doing what I can do, which is making a mark. Whereas the second opinion, the second approach is no, Moses was legally designating it. Now, it wasn't going to be activated, but Moses did designate it at that time. Moses designated it. He said that this is a city of refuge. God told him to designate it, so he did it. And Moses said, if a mitzvah opportunity comes to do it, I'm going to do it. Let me read the text inside that shares this perspective, this duality. And this is going to be text 8b. The reason why I'm reading this, Toba, I'm not trying to take a reading from you, but I do want to pause and give a little bit of commentary as I read it. This is the Rebbe's insight into Rashi and into our topic. The two phrases of the Talmud and Rashi have different meanings. A mitzvah that comes to my hands, which is from the Talmud, implies a subjective opportunity for me to fulfill a mitzvah, meaning it's my opportunity. A mitzvah that can be fulfilled, which is Rashi's terminology, means that an objective need exists for a mitzvah to be fulfilled. The first phrase, which is the Talmud, implies that Moses' deed was merely preparatory. Thus, it was only a mitzvah from his perspective. He was engaged in preparations for a mitzvah. Objectively, however, no mitzvah was fulfilled, meaning there was no activation, not even a designation. He just drew something on a map or spray painted on the ground. The second phrase, which is Rashi's phrase, implies an objective need for this deed. The deed was the focus, not the person. Through this deed, the cities were designated as refuge cities, though the designation was in abeyance, pending until Joshua selected refuge cities in Israel proper. And so thus we find that the answer to our question, Moses was concerned, maybe what I'm doing is not going to have any effect. Maybe I'm wasting my time. So no, did he waste his time? Did it have an effect? It depends who you ask. According to one perspective, Moses' actions did not actually have any effect. There was no legal effect. It was just him trying to do something, but it didn't actually designate the cities. All 6 cities were ultimately designated by Joshua, and that's what designated them and activated them as cities of refuge. All that happened in one fell swoop by Joshua. According to the other position, which it seems like is Rashi's own position, Moses did accomplish something. He did officially authorize and designate the 3 Transjordan cities of refuge. Joshua would later, right upon entry into Canaan, Israel, he would designate officially the other 3. Together would activate all 6, including the original 3 that Moses did. These are 2 different opinions, and this is, again, intimated in very subtle textual nuances and distinctions between Rashi and the Talmudic source that he is, in essence, quoting.
There was such thing as doing like something having no effect, right?
No, even Moses' preparatory actions, according to the first opinion, we would say was a preparation for whatever. But remember, there's 3, that adds another layer to it. Preparation, designation, then activation. So we've been typically dealing with the 2, right? Activation definitely didn't happen until Joshua activated all 6. But designation, did it designate? According to the Talmud, it seems like it wasn't even officially a designation. It was just a preparation for the designation. According to Rashi, it seems like he did designate it.
It seems to me that the difference in the 2 interpretations would be either you go chasing the mitzvah, or you wait for the mitzvah to come to you.
I like that. I
mean, and in the one interpretation, Moses went chasing the opportunity to do a mitzvah.
Yeah.
as opposed to the other interpretation.
Where he's waiting for it to come to him.
The opportunity came to me, so I might as well do it.
Might as well do it. Good.
I want
Good.
to go back to something.
Yeah.
In text 1a, God spoke to Moses, said,
Yes.
speak to the children of Israel and tell them when you cross the Jordan River to the land of Canaan.
Good.
Or can designate for yourselves.
Yep.
So that automatically leaves Moses out.
Yeah.
Because
they weren't in Canaan. Yeah.
And the 3 cities, then it says, provide 3 cities, text 1c,
Sure.
also numbers.
Yep.
Provide 3 cities in Transjordan, 3 cities, and they will be in, but
you're asking.
I mean, he said it to the children, he's supposed to say to the children of Israel, not necessarily.
Well, I think that the critical point of your question in text 1a is when God tells Moses, tell the people, when you cross the Jordan River to the land of Canaan, designate for yourself city of refuge, which implies that the designation should only happen when you cross into the land.
Yeah.
Moses clearly went out on a limb here. He said, I just got the final verdict. I'm not going into the land, but I'm here. And ultimately there will be 3 cities here. Let me roll dice and designate them and see what happens. And there's 2 opinions. Either that was not a valid designation, it was merely a preparation, or, as Rashi seems to imply, it even took effect as designation, which again was him going out on a limb, because God said, when you go into Canaan, then designate. And Moses preempts it. Why? Chaperein. Seize the day, seize the moment, seize the opportunity. So we have a few lessons here, a few takeaways. Number 1, this very lesson. Sometimes you got to act boldly. You got to act with a little good old-fashioned chutzpah. You know what chutzpah is? It's a great way to clear the throat. It's also a little bit of brazenness, a little bit of guts, a little bit of, you know what? I know maybe it's not supposed to happen yet. I'm going to go for it. Now, you got to be careful.
Go to where no man has gone before.
No man has gone before. Exactly. Now I got to be careful with this. We all have to be careful with this, because not in every scenario that we want to take a risk and roll the dice and, make a bold move is it always kosher. Moses himself, who had spoken to God for 40 years, face to face, as the Torah itself tells us, panim el panim, dibra Hashem Moshe, face to face, God spoke with Moses. Not like any other prophet in history that would speak. God would speak in kind of in riddles and in intimations and in dreams and in visions. God spoke to Moses face to face, and yet Moses wasn't sure if he was acting validly and in accordance with what God wanted. So number 1, seize the day with a caveat. Use that with caution. Use it. It's kind of like break glass in emergency. But sometimes the situation calls for it. You got to act with a little bit good old-fashioned chutzpah. I feel so much better. Now, second point, and this is the point that I want to conclude with. Second point is, cities of refuge also have a spiritual connotation. We're approaching the month of Elul. And Elul, which is the month before the holidays. And the month of Elul, 4 letters, Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed, stands for a number of acronyms. Our sages throughout the ages have said that this month, the name of the month hints to so many different verses that have 4 letters. For example, Ani ledodi, v'dodi li, I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. It's an idea of love between us and God. Great. There's another verse, Elul, Ina liado v'samti lach. Ina liado means God caused the accident to happen to this guy's hand when he swung the axe. V'samti lo, and I will give him cities of refuge. Elul, step back. Just like a city of refuge is a refuge in space, it was a physical location to find refuge. Likewise, there is a city of refuge in time. There are moments in our lives when we need to step away from the craziness. There are moments in time in which we need to step away from the grind, from the everyday, from the rat race, and find refuge in spirituality and holiness. And the truth is, we have it every single day. Whenever we pray to God, city of refuge. Whenever we study Torah, right now. We have an hour every Tuesday evening together. City of refuge. Yes, there are cities in space. There are also cities in time. This is a city of refuge in time. The whole month of Elul, Ina liado, Visamti lach, the whole 30 days of the month of El, the month that's coming up in a little over 3 weeks, that entire month is a city of refuge. No matter what happened this year, take the month, take the days, and reconnect with truth. And the question is, what is that truth that we're plugging into? The Torah tells us that Moses is the one that made sure to designate, to at least try to designate the cities. And according to Rashi, he did designate the cities of refuge, which means for you and I, what is a city of refuge? Is it a yoga class? Is it a workout? Is it a Starbucks? Is it a baseball game? Is it a baseball cap? I'm glad you asked. The real city of refuge is the one that Moses designates. It has to be touched by the hands of Moses. What does that mean? It's got to be holy. Torah, right? Torah Moshe, we say. It's the Torah that Moshe, Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Morasha Kila Yaakov. It's Moshe that transmitted the tradition of Torah to us from God. So you want to know what a city of refuge is? It has to be designated by Moses to be authentic. Anything else may not be the real McCoy. The realio dealio might not be there if it's not touched by Moses. You want to know what a real city of refuge is? Look at what Moses designated. Torah, Tefillah, Tzedakah, right? Those are the 3 big mitzvot that we, in preparation for the high holidays, and we even say it on, say along those lines on the high holidays. It's what is touched by Moses, what's designated by Moses, that really provides refuge for an aching heart and an aching soul, or a soul that yearns for a deeper connection. I think that more than ever, in an age of, we live in an age of plenty. There's never been an era in human history where people have had so much. More people have more today than ever in history. I don't even mean the super uber wealthy. I mean people. You have air conditioning, food, basic needs on a basic level, shelter. It's incredible. Obviously, there are people in need that don't have basics, and that's important to help. But the point is that never in human history have more people had more than right now in 2025. But you know what that doesn't do? That doesn't fill the God-shaped hole in the human heart. That doesn't satisfy the soul. That's where the city of refuge comes in. When you feel like your life is rudderless, when you feel like there's got to be something more, right? Then we cue up the Southwest commercial, and we come full circle. Gotta get away? Don't try Southwest. Try Torah. You know why? To mix brands, because Torah is the real thing. Thank you very much for joining me tonight for Torah Studies. It's in the name, Torah Studies. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it made sense. And thank you. And let's plug into the real stuff. All right.
Thank you.
Sandrine, what do you think of the hat? Yeah? Anyway, good. Amy, thank you. Thank you for the thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Now, a few quick important notes. I'm gonna do the notes again, or the announcements again that I mentioned earlier. It's on the website live. I haven't even sent out any notifications about this. Brand new event and brand new program. It's a 3-part series, Boxing with the King. Why is it Boxing with the King? Elvis will not be there. However, it's here King Rahim. That's his boxing name. I mean, the King is the nickname that he used in the ring. 3-time world champion and Olympic boxer. Did I show the picture, the video of me wearing I did a few weeks ago, right? Yes. Yeah, we already did that. That's old news. You guys get all the scoops. Anyway, now it's official. Now it's out. It's on the website in town. Sorry, the Torah Center, thetorahcenter.org/boxing. That is the link. The Torah Center the Torah Center ATL.org/boxing, and you can sign up for that 3-part series. Also, don't forget about the retreat. We have the retreat at the end of October, and other good stuff that is happening. Purim murder mystery. All right. Good. Questions,
Purim
comments?
masquerade murder mystery. Triple M.
Purim masquerade. Yeah, that's very good. That's very good. Purim masquerade murder mystery. Purim M3. Good. Questions, comments?
So the cities, it's physical cities, but
Yes.
also metaphorically
Yes.
as well.
Every mitzvah in Torah and every story in Torah, every personality in Torah has both a physical truth, but also spiritual truth. And so what we try to do in all these classes is kind of like blend both, to the point that sometimes you might not know what I'm talking about. I don't mean you specifically, but like, right, we try to seamlessly weave between these two realities. So you have a physical city of refuge, but you also have a spiritual city of refuge.
They did
And
a good job connecting it in the end.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important because, you know, like I didn't want to get into it, but now like this is the post-game show. So we're officially the post-game show. Welcome. So very quickly, you know, the city of refuge was prescribed for somebody who took a life inadvertently.
Mhm.
But that's also spiritually. What does it mean take a life inadvertently? Take a life means you're disconnecting something from the source. Every time we do something that doesn't speak to our higher truth,
You disconnect.
we're turning a little bit away from the source. And that means a little bit of disconnect from true life. And that's what creates the sense of emptiness. We might be living a great life and a fun life and a happy, like physically happy, but every moment where we turn, where we put self over God or pleasure over purpose, every moment that we do that is a moment in which we're subtly disconnecting, pulling away from the source. And that creates some measure of death. Now, it's not intentional. We didn't intend to like sever. We're not severing it. It's not malicious. That's why it's unintentional. But it's unintentional. We're causing unintentional, a little bit of a nick in a little bit of a blemish in the pure connection with true life. And that's when we need to come back and pour ourselves in. And we have that opportunity again every day. We don't have to wait till El. I know it's coming up. We don't have to wait for the month of El. We can do it right now, right? Every time we study Torah, we're in the city of refuge. Every time we pray, city of refuge. Yeah.
You know, killing or any loss of life disturbs me.
Yeah.
So we have something in the prayer book. I don't know if it's on Yom Kippur. Or
What disturbs you? Sorry.
Any taking of life.
taking of
taking
life.
Yeah.
Okay. Mhm.
Even when, you know, if somebody comes after me,
Sure.
if I got the bit a million times had to kill them
Right.
or even injure them,
It would still, yeah, for sure.
difficult. So isn't there something in one of the prayers or one of the when we beat our chest, something, there's a thing about study about you know, we don't take pleasure in killing, you know, or taking someone's life. Like we're supposed to say or pray or something in the prayer that says, you know, even
If it were to come to that, it would still be right.
You know,
Good. I don't remember the specific quote, but it sounds right. I will tell you also to support your point. When Jacob was preparing for his encounter with his twin brother Esau after 20 years of separation, and he heard that his brother was coming out to greet him with 400 armed men, armed to the teeth, it says that he was wait. It says he was afraid, and there's another adjective. He was something and something. He was and there's basically two emotions. One was that he was afraid or whatever, lest he be killed. And the other one is he was something afraid or whatever, lest he need to kill. That also disturbed him. Either way, he was unhappy about what was going to happen the next day. Either he was going to get, you know, whatever, which was certainly not pleasant, right? If he gets killed. And even if he has to defend himself and take the life of his brother, that's not something that he was looking forward to. So to your point, that's exactly the Jewish perspective on it. I mean, it's really kind of a crazy, scenario to think about. But again, if you think about it in more spiritual terms, every mitzvah has a timeless spiritual significance. The mitzvah of Siddur refuge is for all of us. We all need that time. We all need that space to reconnect with the truth, to reconnect with those spaces designated by Moses. That's why Moses had to touch it, even in the Transjordan, whatever. And maybe we can say that why did he only, let's just continue the extrapolation. Why did he only designate the ones in the Transjordan? Maybe to indicate that there's more of a likelihood of this happening. Why were there 3 only for 2.5 tribes when there were 3 for 9.5 tribes in Israel? Because when you're out of Israel, meaning you're out of the Holy Land, it's easier to get distracted. I mean, there's also challenges in the Holy Land because there's a lot of energy over there, and sometimes it feels like a little too much energy. But outside of Israel, it's very easy to get seduced into what do they call it? The Americana chocolate. That's what they used to say about the Americans who like chocolate. That's like the old Chassidim in Russia would say, "You going to America where they eat chocolate? You're done. You're finished.
You can have vodka with it."
Yeah, but you're not going to daven for 5 hours a day in Russia. What else were you going to do? What else? You're in the shtetl, right? Physically, life is very difficult. So you're praying to God all day. You're studying Torah. You're eking out a little living. You come to the land of Wall Street and chocolate. Guess what? It's like, I think we're good, God. And that's the danger. That's why we need more cities of refuge per capita, as it were.
I'm too comfortable. What's the word?
Yeah. Complacent.
Complacent.
I said it's in Deuteronomy. Moses tells the people, he warns them, you're going to come into the land and it's going to be amazing. Everyone's going to have their land and their houses and their vineyards and everything. He says, Shamanta Avisa Kasisa. You're going to become, whatever the language is, rotund and whatever, and you're going to forget completely the God who brought you here. He was saying, like, be careful that shouldn't happen. So anyway, it's a message for all of us. The good news is we have cities of refuge. Let's use them. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right.